Greetings and salutations to you all once again. It is me, the Ravenous Spectre. I actually went a little bit into a video that I had done once before about things dealing with me with wrestling and how there was a certain point in my life where there was like a couple years where I couldn't really watch wrestling, which sucked ass. And the reason for that was because I actually went to a boarding school. It was a Seventh-day Adventist Christian boarding school. My father was the one that had put me into it, and I can understand for the reason of him wanting to put me into a private school. He wanted to take me out of public school because he didn't like public school. He was sick of it, and he wanted to take me out of it. So probably about like the middle of my seventh grade year, I actually went to a school, and I was there for like a couple years or something, but it was one of those day schools where you go back and forth to home. You know, it was a Christian Seventh-day Adventist school, but you would go there during the day and leave there in the afternoon and then go, home, just like it was with any other school. Excuse me. I just woke up a little bit ago, but I wanted to go ahead and make this video anyways. But the thing that happened that really just blew it all out of proportion for me was the fact of the matter that I ended up going to the boarding school, the main like boarding school, because I think like the private school that I went to wasn't like a boarding school, but it was just like a regular school. But anyways, but it was a small school too. But regardless of that, when it came time for like my junior and senior year, I ended up having to go to a boarding school. My father wanted to homeschool me, but he basically kind of gave me the ultimatum on whether or not I wanted to go to one or I wanted to go to the other, because I guess maybe he didn't have the money at the time or whatever to get the homeschooling thing up. I don't know, whatever. That's in the past. It's over, dead and done with. So anyways, I ended up picking the one that I wanted to go ahead and go to. And surely enough, when I got there, well, my heart just fell out of my ass. It was a good place. It was. It's just that there were way too many rules there. It was way too strict for me. And I'm not trying to compare this to like prison or the army or anything like that, with it being really strict or anything. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying from my perspective of the way that things happen for me, it's like it seems like things were on such of a lockdown that it just aggravated the piss out of me. And I was just like, oh my God. So instead of going, I mean, obviously I went to classes, and they actually had on campus there where you would work also. Like they had some classes that would be during the day, and then you'd work in the afternoon. It was like 2 grades would work in the morning and have classes in the afternoon, and the other 2 grades would be vice versa. So yeah, and so they kind of just put you where they have you work at, and you would basically make money in order to be able to help pay off your tuition or whatever. And there was times you could work to make actual money for yourself. I'll admit it was a life experience for the fact of you actually working a bit through your teenage years and realizing what it's like to have a job or manage money or whatever, and also going to school and whatnot to finish out and go ahead and graduate. But the thing is that if you lived off campus, well, obviously you lived off campus. You didn't have to worry about doing nothing with nobody for anything. And you just basically did your own thing like you would if you went to a day school. But when it came to actually living on campus, well, that was a different thing altogether. They had a guy's dorm and they had a girl's dorm. And I'm just sitting there thinking, well, let me see what I can ask this dean to see exactly what would be allowed here and what wouldn't be allowed here. And it turns out that we could actually bring gaming consoles there, but the only thing is he wouldn't allow us to do it unless it was like from, I believe, what was it? Let's see, sundown on Saturday and through Sunday, and actually I believe we could get them Friday night, but we couldn't play them on Saturday. We could play them Saturday evening up through Sunday, and then we'd have to turn them back into him on Sunday evening or Monday or something like that, because they didn't want it to interfere with us, our studies and homework and all this crap. So anyways, they took it away from us during the week. And then it came to a point where, I don't know what it was some parent or something got a stick up their ass, and they were all upset because I think either their kid was playing some games with other guys, or they found out about it somehow, or their roommate had a game system and the other kid's parents found out, or whatever. And they were pissed off, and they were like, well, we sent our kid up here, so that they can actually get an education, not play games, this, that, and the other. Well, that's not what it's about. It's a fact about having free time to actually do something and not have your face shoved inside of a book all the whole friggin' time, because you're not going to be doing that all the time anyways, or working up there, you know, and doing that crap. And I mean, for God's sakes, man, you know, you know, you try to me, I kind of think like you were trying to treat your kid like a slave because of the fact that you wouldn't let them do this stuff and actually have some fun with their lives. Yeah, it's about going to classes. It's about working. It's about doing all that. Yeah, that's what you're there for. But when you have your downtime, you're not going to have your face shoved in a book the entire time. And that's a fact. And everybody else there did the exact same thing. If you don't have time to decompress, you're going to freaking explode when it comes to that stuff, especially in high school. So if the parent is watching that, there's a message to you. You know, you should have left it as it was because everything was fine. So anyways, that aside, which pissed me off to no end, I'm pretty sure it pissed other teenagers off there just as well. We couldn't have our game consoles there because the parent didn't like it. You know, that parent had no say-so over me or any other child that was there. None whatsoever. They only had say-so over their own child. I told my dad about it too, and he got upset. He's like, well, why is it that another parent has say-so over my child? And that's a fact. They had no say-so over me because they weren't my daddy, they weren't my mama, and I weren't their child, so they shouldn't have had no say-so over me and what I could and couldn't do. I'm sorry, I was getting a little upset there because it did. It pissed me off. It pissed me off royally. But then it came to a point to where, and I'll get to the wrestling part with this. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to go from beginning to end here. And then it basically, which this is about gaming too, so, you know, it goes hand in hand with wrestling and gaming. And then it came to a point with gaming, it's like they ended up buying a PlayStation 2 and they put it in one of the dean's offices there. They moved the dean office from like one part of the dorm to the other, and they ended up having a PlayStation 2 in there. I never played it. I never bothered with it because the games that they got were shit. And they had like sports games and like racing games, and that was pretty much it. And I don't give a shit about either of them. I didn't even bother with them. You know, so I would probably pass by and see the guys playing in there, and I would just be like, well, they didn't get any. And every once in a while they would get a new game, but that would be on very rare occasions. I don't know how many they had, but every time I passed by there, it was the same shit that was played all the time. I was like, the hell with this. So, anyways, I usually kind of did my thing where I would be writing and drawing and things of that nature. And that was kind of how I'd occupied myself, you know, and maybe I would go hang out with a couple friends on campus or whatever. They did have a family room there where you could go and watch TV, but you only had certain TV shows that you could actually watch. You know, and it's really kind of funny to me because they wouldn't allow someone to go in there and watch pro wrestling, yet they would allow them to go watch shows like Jag and Walker, Texas Ranger. And yeah, of course, because you know that's a lot different compared to pro wrestling, right? Yeah. And then they had where they could go and watch sports. Oh yeah, because sports is okay because we like seeing guys slam into one another and possibly snap one of the other players' legs in half and get carried off the field. That's all well and good to watch, but we can't watch any wrestling. You know, we can't watch something that's actually choreographed, you know, and something that's actually interesting on the matter. Because I swear, man, I never even went into the family room either because there was nothing. It was bullshit. It was boring. It was stupid. I hated being there. I'm glad I graduated when I went there. Obviously, I'm glad I graduated. I'm glad I graduated when I got there and then moved right along out of the damn place. And if I told myself if I ever had kids, I would never ever send them to a private school because I won't put them through that. I will not put them through that at all. So, anyways, and plus you'd save money too. Excuse me. The whole deal behind the wrestling thing is that obviously I couldn't watch wrestling. It's just like I mentioned before about the whole deal with being in the family room and couldn't watch anything. And I already mentioned something before about how I had a TV in there and I would actually watch wrestling. Me and another friend of mine would watch wrestling, and you know we got by with it, and then for some reason, like a week or so or something before it was time for them to go ahead and have us graduate, it was the dean and the principal of the school ended up taking the TV until it was time for me to leave, and then finally when I left, I got my TV back. But I told that story in another video. But yeah, that was something that just aggravated the piss out of me just as well. But hey, you know what? I still got some weeks where I had a chance to watch some wrestling. Granted, I couldn't see Raw, but I did be able to see SmackDown. so that's definitely a plus. You know, because how it was then was that obviously they have recaps nowadays, and they got recaps going on back then just as well. Excuse me. The thing is that uh, it was aggravating. It sucked. I mean, there was even a summer where I stayed up there, and that sucked even more. Um, you know, there was like hardly anybody that was there, and I was working there to help pay off tuition, and you know, I got a little bit of money for myself, I believe, and oh God. I don't understand why it is they put kids through that stuff, man. I mean, especially with teenagers, because you're not even giving these kids the opportunity and the ability to grow as a person and see who they are as a person. You're just basically keeping them on lockdown for however many years they may be there, whether it's from freshman year to senior year or anywhere in between. Luckily, thank God I wasn't there my freshman year, because I would have had to put up with 4 years of that shit. So I was only in there for 2 years, you know, junior and senior year. So thank God. And, excuse me, flash forward a bit. I actually ended up going to a college that was actually the same. It was a Seventh-day Adventist college. And when it boils down to wrestling with that, yeah, that was that was pretty much kind of the same thing as it was before. Because they had like a family room down there where I would go down there, and, you know, sometimes if there was nobody down there, I'd go there and actually start watching some wrestling. Well, it turns out one evening when I went down there and started watching wrestling, I had to go to the bathroom. I come back and there's some other guys there, and the channel's changed to fucking football. That's exactly how I felt about it. I was like, well, fuck. So I went ahead and left and went back and did whatever I was going to do. And they actually ended up I can't talk. They ended up adding on a new wing, a new suite to the dormitory area. And for some reason, I don't know how, but they actually ended up adding in cable into the new suites for, I think, over maybe a week or two's period or something like that. I think either the deans, they didn't know about it, or somebody had mentioned it and they found out and they had cut it out, which was stupid. I don't understand how, you know, and it's like, you know, I can understand if there would be some rules in terms of you being a teenager if you're in that freaking dormitory thing. If there's some. Notice I said some, not a whole damn list. Like Jericho back in the 90s pulling out his long list of how many different submission holds or whatever he could do. That's how it was with the rules there at that boarding school. The thing with the whole college deal was that I'm like, why? You know, we're adults now. We've graduated high school. Why can't we have this in here? I was like, you know, even if it was so much of a matter where you didn't want us to have certain channels, well, fine. You know, then we don't have certain channels. You can go ahead and block those out. That was the whole thing with cable at that point in time. Cable satellite, you could have certain channels that you wanted and certain that you didn't. Not rocket science. Lighten up here. And so, anyways, there was a period of time where actually I hate really strict rules. I really do. I hate like super strict stuff. I cannot freaking stand it. It annoys me that I believe that, you know, everywhere in society you do need rules. Because if you don't, you're going to have anarchy, and then you're just going to have nothing. You know, you do need a certain set of rules depending on where you are to make sure there's guidelines and things to follow. That's perfectly understandable. But when there's a whole lot of strict one, you might as well just stand there in one space and not even move, because that's kind of what it feels like. But that was in boarding school. But in college, it was a lot more lenient. You know, we had video games there, so we didn't have no pissy ass bitchy parents, thank God. So we didn't have to worry about that. So we had game consoles there. For some reason, I don't know why, but girls couldn't have TVs and game consoles in their rooms, but guys could. That's stupid. Okay, that's royally stupid. So, anyways, I just don't understand how people come up with these dumb, stupid ideas. And these rules. I can't freaking understand it. But anyways, yeah, I laugh at it now because I don't have to put up with this shit anymore. But the thing is that with the whole college situation, there was a couple weeks where Raw would actually be on, and I would watch it. I think SmackDown was too, and I would watch it. And then after they cut it out, I was like, well, hell, you know. And I think I got online a few times to see what was going on with wrestling, but overall, it didn't really culminate for me until I finally got out of there and I could finally watch wrestling again like I wanted to. And that kind of, I know I talked a lot about school and all of that, but the thing is that while I'm like, oh, well, you know, finally we come to the end of this video. The main thing that I'm really trying to get at here is the fact of why WWE Network is so important to me as of right now, because I can actually go back and watch these Raw and SmackDown episodes that I missed. So it's actually like me giving like a proverbial kick into the teeth of the past, because it's like they tried to keep it away from me, but they don't. I broke out, and now I'm still watching it. Matter of fact, I'm watching some right now. So what you gonna do about it? What you gonna do, brother? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What? Okay, I don't have any pythons or nothing, so I can't say the python part. So, but anyways, yeah. So this is one reason why WWE Network is so great, is to be able to go back and see this stuff, and it's a joy to me. And I feel like I really need it, because I've been a wrestling fan my entire life, since I was about 5 or 6 years old. Ever since I was old enough to understand what wrestling was, I had loved it ever since. Yeah, wrestling has had its ups and downs, but I always keep coming back to it because I always love everything about it. So, excuse me. But finally, when it came to the point where I realized the WWE Network was coming out a few years ago, and I realized that they were going to start having that stuff, I'm like, this is a good opportunity for me to be able to check this out. And granted, we're talking about maybe a couple years worth of Raws and SmackDowns. I'm just watching the Raws right now. I'll probably go back and watch the SmackDowns more than likely. But we're talking, you know, I mean, yeah, there was a time I watched a little bit of wrestling when I actually went home, like during a break or something like that. But that was like it wasn't few and far between, but it was just the fact that, like, hey, well, there's only like, what, maybe about 3 weeks or something in Christmas vacation, so you only got to see 3 Raws and 3 SmackDowns. So yeah, I mean, it was very slim pickings for me, because I had to be up there with that shit. But yeah, but now I'm going back and I'm catching up on them, and I'm watching them, and I'm enjoying them, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I had been missing. This is what's been happening to me on the Mondays and Thursday nights when I was in the dormitory and I couldn't watch the damn things. And now I was seeing all the greatness that I had been missing, and I'm just like, I'll never do it again. And if I ever had kids, I would never put them through that. Never, ever. Luckily, I don't plan on having kids. But, yeah, I'm just really glad that, you know, and we have our qualms with WWE, as we do nowadays, you know, especially with social media and all that. But I'm really glad that they ended up releasing the network and released all of this past content. And I'm hoping they keep it up there from now until the world ends. You know, just leave it up there. I mean, because it's awesome footage. It's nostalgic, especially people who never got to see them. They want to go back and see them. Leave the freaking things up there. Just leave them up there. Don't move them. Don't. It's just like one time on WWE Network, they ended up rearranging something where they had like Attitude Era, Raw, and SmackDown or something, and I went back one day and they weren't there, and I'm like, well, where the hell is it? And somebody told me it was on the Raw replays. So I was like, oh, okay, so they moved it there now instead of having it be like its own separate thing, which I wasn't really aware of. Because it seemed like any time I went to the whole in-ring stuff, and I never really went to replays. But anyways, that's not here nor there. But yeah, so that's kind of a little story that I had of like the anguish that I had to go through with me not being able to have some gaming and wrestling, the main two things that one of the main two things that I really like in you know, in my life and entertainment wise and all that. So yeah, but yeah, we got the WWE Network now, so that problem is solved. And I don't know what in the world is going on in that boarding school nowadays, but from what I've heard, it's gotten worse, I believe, when it comes to the whole rules thing or whatever. So, you know, kids that are still there, good luck. God bless you. And when you make it out, you graduate, don't ever look back and don't send your kids there. That's all I'm saying. You know, because there has to be a balance. Because the thing that kind of gets to me is I think if they have more rules, they can actually try to work it out where this kid is going to be the way they are for the rest of their life after they get out of this school. Nope. Not going to happen. Because look at me. And look at a lot of other ones that went there just as well. When you put a whole lot of rules on somebody, there's going to come a point where there's going to be a rebellious streak. And trust me, I tried to rebel there a few times too with the things that happened. You know, we're teenagers. We're meant to rebel and do stuff like that. You know, go against authority. You know, that's kind of also how it was. And I did. I mean, especially if I had a TV in my room just as well. And also I ended up having a CD player in my room, which we couldn't have also, except only on weekends. But I had it in there and I snuck it in there and hid it. Especially some heavy metal CDs that I had, and that wasn't too nice, but I didn't care. And they ended up taking it away. I don't know if I got it back or not, but, you know, you go and take my shit, I'm going to be pissed. So you could tell me, well, if you're going to take it away, then I can have my father come when he came up to take me for a vacation or whatever, like on Christmas or whatever. I could end up giving it to him, and you didn't have to be a dick about it. You know, I can't really remember. You know, but I think there was one point where they wouldn't like give you some of that stuff back, which is bullshit. You know, if it's my property, it's my property. If you don't like it, fine. You can follow your little rules and have it away from me for a certain period of time. Fine, well and good. But the fact of the matter is I want my shit back because it's mine. It's not yours, it's mine. And I don't remember hearing anything when I ended up signing up for that school that if I ended up bringing any type of illegal contraband in there when it came to CD players and game consoles, that you have the right to stake claim over my shit. No, not happening. So, anyways, with that being said, this was a long video, and I'm going to go ahead and end it now. Let's see, was there anything else that I needed to mention on that? No, there wasn't. So, that's a long enough video as it is. So, later, taters.